morning and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our Shabbat morning service where we will be celebrating Mitchell Sindler. There he is, the man of the hour. And Rabbi Hyatt. And my name is Steve Brodsky. We're thrilled to have you with us this morning. Please join me as we get warmed up by singing a little bit. The words are very, very simple. They are Yai and Lai. That's all you need to know. Here we go. Yai, Lai, 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 Lai. Yai, Lai, 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 Lai. Yai, Lai, 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 Lai. Yai, Lai, 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 Lai. Yai, Lai, 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 Lai. Yai, Lai, 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 Yai, Lai, 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 Lai. Yai, Lai, 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 Yai, Lai, Lai, Lai. Yai, Lai, 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 Lai,
Good morning and Shabbat Shalom. We are so thrilled to be here with you this morning, virtually from wherever you may be joining us to celebrate Mitchell on becoming Bar Mitzvah this morning. You are in for such a beautiful morning of prayer and of learning and of celebration. Mitchell is so ready to share so much of what he has learned and prepared for this day with us. As Steve said before, I'm Rabbi Emily Hyatt. This is Steve Brodsky. We are thrilled to be here leading this service with Mitchell this morning and helping to celebrate with the Sindler family. A couple of quick things to know. If we were in person, I would ask you to silence your cell phones. But quite frankly, you can leave your cell phone on. In fact, you may be watching on your cell phone. I have no idea. But instead, what I will ask you to do is just take a deep breath. Whatever space you're in, your living room, your dining room, your patio, your basement, your bed, your kitchen, it becomes a sanctuary for the next little bit as we pray together and we learn together and we have this opportunity to celebrate together. And so with that, we are going to begin this service the way that we always do. Every day that we pray, we begin with gratitude, first for our physical selves. And so I invite you to pray, to read out loud with me in English. My body is a mystery, so strong, so fragile, it can suffer great pain. Endure to reach great triumph, but a small moment can bring collapse or death. My body is a mystery, a gift of intricacy and beauty, powerful, endowed with the ability to take light and air and food and make them into energy and action. What then is my life? How then will I use this gift? I will thank you for your kindness and abundance. I will treasure the moments of strength and vigor. I will surrender to moments of weakness and distress. God who provides sustenance and health, you are the source of life. Baruch atah Adonai, rofecho basar umafli la'asot. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously.
And after we give thanks and recognize our physical selves, we also recognize that we are spiritual beings, that we have been endowed with a soul that has been restored to us this morning as we awake. And so we say these words, Elohai nishama shenatata bi tehorahi. God, the soul that you have given me is a pure one. Sing Elohai, 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 Nishama, Nishama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Elohai, Elohai.
And so we have said thank you for our physical selves, our bodies. Thank you for our spiritual selves, our souls. And now we say thank you for our intellectual selves, our minds. And in a little bit of time, Mitchell is going to really teach us. He's going to teach us the Torah that he has learned. Before we get there, we're going to say the blessing over the study of Torah and thank God for our ability to learn and to process new information. So join with me if you know it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We can all read the English. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah.
And as we conclude this Birchot HaShachar morning blessings section of the service and get ready to move into the next section where Mitchell will lead us, we say one word over and over again, the words from Psalm 150, Hallelujah, which means praise to God. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Sing it with me. Hallelujah, 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 Trua, Kol Hanshama, Tehalelia, Kol Hanshama, Tehalelia, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah,
And so with that, we have found our gratitude this morning. We are warmed up and stretched out, and that's good because Steve and I are just the warm-up act this morning. And so with that, it is my great honor and true privilege to call Mitchell to the screen to lead us in prayer.
We rise as we are able, either physically or spiritually, for the bar who are called to worship. Yalla lie lie lie, 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 yalla lie lie lie. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayers? Can you hear my voice? Do you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie. Yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie. Barechu et Adonai, Ham ve'orach. Baruch Adonai, Ham ve'orach, le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie. Yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uberei hoshech, osei shalom uberei et hakol, hameir la'aretz, v'ladarim alecha b'rahamim. Uv tuvo mehadesh b'chol yom tamid, ma'aseh reishit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kolam b'hokma asita, mala haretz kinyanecha. Titbarak Adonai Eloheinu, al shavach ma'aseh yadecha, va'al me'or she'asita yefarucha selah. Or hadash al Zion ta'ir, v'nizkeh holanu mehera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ham-orot. God, inspiration and guide for all. You have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Grateful, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyful, we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we will turn to you and find purpose. May the teaching of our ancestors live in our minds and the passion for righteousness stir in our hearts. Help us live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habacher ba'amo Israel ba'aba. One second. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malechuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You may be seated. Please join me in chanting Ve'afta. Ve'afta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha uvchol neshevcha uvchol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzaha hayom alelavecha v'shinetam levanecha v'dibatam bam b'shiftecha b'deitecha uvlektecha v'derech ubshoktecha uvkumecha ukshatam leot al yadecha v'hayu lefatot b'nei'eha uftatam amezuzot b'neha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasistem et kol mitzvotai via kemkoshim Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohim, asher hitet yechem me'er Mitzrayim lilot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohim. Sing the song of men and women. Join in understanding and respect the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, whose soldiers home to leave no more. The song of world redeemed, the song of peace. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi hamocha nirda kodesh, mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi hamocha nirda kodesh. Nora tehilot, o sefele, Nora tehilot, O sefele Adonai yimluch le'olam va'ed. Shira chadasha shibahu ligulim lech tishcha al safat hayam kulam hudu v'mhimlu be'amru Adonai yimluch le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Rock of Israel, rise in support of Israel, and redeem Judah and Israel as you promised. Our remainder, Adonai Zevaot, is your name. Baruch atah Adonai, Gala Israel. Blessed are you, Adonai, who redeems Israel. We continue with the tefillah. Please rise as you are able, either physically or spiritually. One second again. There we go. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid techilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid techilatecha. Open up my lips and let my mouth declare your praises. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid techilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid techilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avatain Vimoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagador Hagibor Vanara, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Verzochei Hasadei Avot V'Yamahot, Umei Kulak Livnei V'Ninehem, Leman Shebo Be'ava, Melech Otzer Oshia Umagain, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Vezrat Sarah, Atai Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol atah Rav Oshia, Mashiv Haruch Omagi Hagashem, Mechayel Hayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Ramim, Sofnei Nofim Verhei Cholim, Umatir Aserim, Kayen Enunato, Lishnei Yafar, Mihamo Haba'el Guverot, Umido Mechla, Mele Memid, Umechaya, Umatzmiak Ishura, Bene Aman Halayot Hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye Hakol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshim shemakdishim o tobish me marom kakatu vaya niviecha vekara ze'el ze ve'amar kadosh 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 Adonai Zivaot Me'ol Chol Haaretz Kevodo Adir Adirenu Adonai Adoheinu Ma'adir Shim Habechol Haaretz Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo Echad Hu Eloheinu Hu Alvinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Moshienu Bayu Yashmienu Berachamav Leinei Chohai Ani Adonai Elohechem Yimluch Adonai Leolam Elohai Yikzion Ledor Vador Hallelujah Ledor Vador Ledor Vador Ledor Vador Nadgir Go Leha Ledor Vador Ledor Vador Ledor Vador Nagid Go Leha Unenetza Netzahim Kedusha HaNakdish Kedusha HaNakdish Vishicha Aleinu Mipinu Yomamush Leolam Leolam Vaed To all generations we will declare your greatness, and for all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the Holy Sovereign. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Mitchell. Awesome job leading us in prayer. Thank you. To all of you that are praying with us, we take a moment now to revel in how beautiful that was, and also to have a moment of silent prayer. We've said so many words together, words that are written for us. Now we say the words that still remain in our hearts or in our minds that we have not yet had a chance to say. And we come back together in just a moment.
Oseh shalom bimroma, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Shalom Aleichem.
with that prayer for peace, we move now into our Torah service, and we prepare ourselves to get ready for the experience of hearing Mitchell chant from and teach us about his Torah portion. But before we do that, I have to share something with you. If we were all together, we would be sitting in our chapel or our sanctuary, and we would have a chance to show you something. But I'm going to tell you about it, and you'll see it in a second instead. And that's because as we prepare to take out the Torah, we have this really important Torah that we use at Temple Emanuel. It comes from the city of Kolín, which is in the country formerly known as Czechoslovakia. We have records of Jewish people living in Czechoslovakia all the way back to at least the 1400s. And the experiences of Jews in Czechoslovakia were much like the experiences of Jews in the rest of Europe. Sometimes things were really good and it was easy and happy, and sometimes things were a little bit harder. And as the centuries passed, everything remained pretty standard until we arrived at 1939. And in 1939, that is when Hitler and the Nazis arrived at the border of Czechoslovakia in World War II. And when that happened, things began to get a little bit harder for the Jewish people that were living in Czechoslovakia and in and around Kolín. They began to lose their rights, first to things that were, not terrible, like social opportunities or perhaps certain promotions or jobs or professional opportunities. But as time went on, they lost the right to jobs at all, and then education and food and housing. And everything really reached a peak in 1942. That is when Hitler and the Nazis reached the border of Kolín. When that happened, two things happened. The first thing that happened is that Hitler was building a museum to the Jews, not the kind of museum that we go to where we honor things that we go and learn about, but the kind of museum that was going to be a tribute to the Nazis and this people that they had been able to get rid of. And so as Hitler was making his way through Europe, he was collecting things in synagogues, things like synagogue furniture or ritual objects, Judaica, Torahs, things like that. And what he didn't destroy, he sent to a warehouse to be stored until this museum could be built. And so all of the furniture and ritual objects and the Judaica that was in the synagogue in Kolín was packed up and was set to be shipped to Prague to be stored in one such warehouse. That's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened is that all of the people, the Jewish people that lived in and around Kolín, were also sent away to concentration camps. Now, our numbers are not great. We don't have a perfect record of any of this. As far as I understand it from the stories that have been told to me, there were about 420-ish Jewish people that were living in Kolín proper, and maybe another 2,000 or 2,200 that were living outside Kolín in the surrounding towns. Every single one of them was sent to a concentration camp, and at the end of the war, as far as we know, there were 16 survivors. Now, something strange happened. All of that furniture that was packed up and the Judaica and set to be stored in Prague never made it. We're not sure if it got smuggled out somehow, but it ended up in the basement of a synagogue in Zurich, Switzerland. And that is where it stayed until 1989. And in 1988, Rabbi Stephen Foster, who was building, in the process of designing and building the chapel at Temple Emanuel, he happened to be flipping through a magazine, and he saw an ad in that magazine, a Jewish magazine, that asked if there were any congregations that might be in need of this furniture that was being stored in Zurich. And so Rabbi Foster obviously got on a plane and went to Switzerland, and he saw the furniture in Zurich. He had it packed up, shipped back to Denver, restored, and installed in this new chapel that he was building. And so what you see in front of you is the green doors of the Ark, the Aron HaKodesh. That's where we keep the Torahs. Above that, at the Ten Commandments, and then a parapet. That's what that thing is called on top. Above that, all the way to the left, you see a Torah stand. That's with the white table underneath. There's a stender, which is a Yiddish word for table, for a chair that has a little table in front of it. In between those, there is another chair another ständer on the side, and then there is a chandelier and a candelabra in the back of the room that you can't see in this picture. And so all of those pieces became a part of our chapel. And then Rabbi Foster thought to himself, I wonder if there's a Torah from the city of Colleen. And so we called the Westminster Synagogue, where 1,575 Torahs were sent after World War II in various states of destruction and usability. And he asked, were there any Torahs from Colleen that they had? And it turned out they had 3 Torahs from Colleen, and 2 had already been placed in other congregations, and 1 was left. And so in 1942, this Torah that you see right here on the very right, the one that has the map, was taken out of this ark. And we didn't see it for a while. And if you look more closely, what you'll see is that there's a little gold line that goes from Czechoslovakia, stops in London, and goes to Denver. Because in 1942, this Torah was taken out of this ark in Kolín, Czechoslovakia. And in 1988, this Torah was put back in this ark in Denver, Colorado. Because that is what we do. We make sure that our tradition gets passed down from generation to generation, no matter what it takes, no matter what the cost. And so today we have the distinct honor and privilege of passing down this tradition to Mitchell from his family. And so we are going to call to the screen right now for our chain of tradition. Mitchell's grandparents, we're going to call his parents, and we are going to call his brother and sister. Everybody's in that screen right there. You can see them. So we have on our screen right now, we have Beth Long and Esther Glickman and Nancy Litvak. And in a minute, I think we might get Grandpa Gary Sindler, but reading on his behalf today, there he is. Good morning. And reading on his behalf today will be Aunt Stephanie Sindler. We have Mitchell's parents, Jason Sindler and Cindy Long. We have Mitchell's brother and sister, Ben and Ellie, and Mitchell's there too. Were we in person, we would pass him this Torah. But today, instead, we pass him this beautiful, beautiful blessing and wishes for his receiving of this tradition. And so Beth is going to begin, and we'll give him this blessing. Go ahead, Beth.
Our hearts are one on this joyous day as you commit yourself to a life of Torah, a life, we pray, filled with wisdom, caring, and right action.
May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Rachel and Leah, bless on your becoming bar mitzvah.
We pray that you will grow each day in compassion for the needy, in concern for the stranger, in love for all people.
May you grow with strength and courage, with vision and sensitivity, and may you always be certain of our love.
We wish for you to be a person of character, strong but not tough, gentle but not weak. We wish for you to be righteous but not self-righteous, honest but not unforgiving.
Wherever you journey, may your steps be firm, and may you walk in just paths and not be afraid. Whenever you speak, may your words be of wisdom and friendship.
May your hands build and your heart preserve what is good and beautiful in the world. May the voices of the generations of our people move through you, and may the God of our ancestors be your God as well.
May you know that there is a people, a rich heritage, to which you belong, and from that sacred place you are connected to all who dwell on earth. May the stories of our people be upon your heart, and may the grace of the Torah rhythm dance in your soul.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words, and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'dor vador nagid god lecha. L'dor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador these lips will praise your name. L'dor vador nagid god lecha. L'dor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador these lips will praise your name.
And with that beautiful blessing in our minds, we move now to our Torah service. And we have a quick tradition here at Temple Emanuel in which we like to talk about the Torah scroll for just a second. It's such a cool and amazing thing, and we have no idea whether each of you watching or listening has had a chance to ever see a Torah scroll. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about it, and we're going to show you a picture of what the inside of a Torah scroll looks like. Now, a Torah scroll is written by a very special kind of calligrapher that is called a sofer or a soferet. It takes about a year and a half to write a Torah scroll by hand with a quill and ink, and it has to be exactly perfect. There cannot be any mistakes in the Torah scroll. And what's really cool about it is that the sofer or soferet, that scribe, has to make sure that all 805 letters are correct, are readable, are in the right order, and are not smudged or in any way wrong. Now, you can imagine that's kind of intense, because what if you get to 304,804 letters and something happens? Do you have to start all the way over? No, don't worry. The quill and ink leaves a bubble on top of the parchment. That's what the Torah is written on. And if the scribe makes a mistake, they can scrape it off with like a razor blade, right? Like a straight razor, and just write a new letter. But there's a reason why we wouldn't do that. Actually, there's two. In case the letter was already dry, in which case it wouldn't scrape off, or in the case that it is written, that the mistake that is made is written in a word that has the name of God. We wouldn't want to get rid of that. So in that case, we would take that piece of parchment out. That's called a cloth, and it's a section of the Torah, and we would put it in a geniza. That's a Jewish cemetery. That's what we do with our holy texts when we can't use them. I'm going to tell you quickly what you do see and what you don't see in this text, and then we'll get to Mitchell. The first thing that you do see is crowns, little decorations coming out of the letters. And what you also see is, like, if you look at the top, some of the letters are stretched out. They're extra wide. And so some of our scholars tell us that that's just the decoration in the Torah, and it's beautiful. Some of them tell us that there are deep mystical things that we're supposed to learn from the crowns or from the shape of the letters. And some of them tell us that the letters are stretched out because this is not a computer and you can't justify your margins. And so the scribe needed some way to get to the end of the column. Now, what you don't see is vowels. All of the letters in Hebrew are consonants or cantillation marks. Those are the musical notes that are added to the text. If you've ever looked at Hebrew text, you might notice a lot of dots and dashes and lines there. We don't put those in the Torah scroll because when our bar and bat mitzvah students read out of the Torah, we like to torture them and make it as hard as possible. Just kidding. That's not why. It's because the Torah scroll predates the invention of the printing press and publication and books. And most people, before books were published, were not literate, and they didn't know how to read. So the Torah wasn't intended for everybody to be able to read. That's why Mitchell will read it publicly for all of us today. The Torah was intended for just those who were experts. And all of those helping notes and vowels were put in later. The last thing you see there is a yad. That's a hand. It is the guide. We don't want to put the oils of our hands onto that text because remember, it can't get smudged. It has to be correct and perfect, and we don't want to get it all mucky. And so we use this metal pointer. Yad means hand in Hebrew, to help us keep our spot. So with that, I am going to call Mitchell to the screen at this moment so that he can introduce to us his Torah portion and what he is going to be reading for us today.
The Torah portion for this Shabbat is T'tzaveh from the book of Exodus. In this Torah portion, we read the very detailed and specific instructions for creating the special garments or vestments to be worn by the ancient Israelite priest. I will be reading from chapter 27, verse 20 through chapter 28, verse 12.
Awesome. So really quickly, I just have to tell you that I just told you that not everybody used to be literate, right? They didn't know how to read. And so it became our tradition that one person would read from the Torah, would do the chanting, and we would give honors to other people by having them say the blessings over the Torah reading. We call this an aliyah, and it means to go up. Both literally, because usually you walk up the steps onto the bima, onto the stage or the platform where we read Torah from, but also because this is an honor, going up in holiness. And so for our first aliyah, to recite the first set of blessings, I'm going to call, you see them right now, Aunt Stephanie Sindler, Aunt Tracy Long, who's going to come on screen, and Mitchell's brother and sister, Ben and Ellie.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'na'at lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'afta T'tzaveh et bnei Israel eikol elecha shaman zadit zaha katirt lamaort ner tamid ve'ohel mered michutz laparohe asher al ha'edut ya'aro otor aharon uvanav me'ever ad boker lifnei Adonai chokat olam lederotam mi'et bnei Israel ve'afta hagrave elecha et aharon ahiha v'tbana ito mito bnei Israel le'ahanoli Aharon Nadav v'Avihu Elazar nitmar bnei Aharon va'asita v'dei kodesh leila Haron ahicha lechavod ulit faret. You shall further instruct the Israelites to bring you clear oil, to bring you clear oil of beaten olives for lighting, for kindling lamps regularly. Aaron and his sons shall set them up in the tent of meeting outside the curtain, which is over the ark of the pact, to burn from evening to morning before the Eternal. It shall be a due from the Israelites for all time throughout the ages. You shall bring forward your brother Aaron with his sons from among the Israelites to serve me as priests. Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Itamar, the sons of Aaron. Make sacred vestments for your brother Aaron, for dignity and adornment.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Beautiful job. Thank you, everybody. Hug and kiss Mitchell if you're in the picture. Tracy and Tom, virtual hugs. And for our second Aliyah, it is my honor to call our grandparents to the screen, Esther and Beth and Nancy and Gary. We're going to bring them on. Give everybody a chance to get set there.
I can help you do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. And when you're ready, go right ahead.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natah lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai notei haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'avta tedaver el chachmei lev asher miloti v'ha chochma va'asu et bigdei Aharon lekadsho lehachanoli ve'lehagegarim asher yasu choshev v'fod umeil uftonet tashmeitz meets nefet va'net va'asu b'dei kodesh le'laharon achicha uvana lehachanoli ve'hemichut et tazaha ve'lahatelet ve'ahagaman tolet Torah hashani ve'et hashesh. Next, you shall instruct all who are skillful, who have endowed with the gift of skill, to make Aaron's vestments, for consecrating him to serve me as priest. These are the vestments they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a fringed tunic, a headdress, and a sash. They shall make those sacred vestments for your brother Aaron and his sons for priestly service to me. They therefore shall receive the gold, the blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and the fine linen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan l'kutenu Baruch atah Adonai notei haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Big hugs and kisses. For our third Aliyah, we're going to switch out our grandparents for our parents today. And I invite Jason and Cindy to join Mitchell for the third Aliyah, the third set of blessings before and after the Torah reading. Go ahead.
Ready?
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vasu et ephod zahav techelet vergaman tolat shani vashish mush zar maseh choshev. Stay chutfot who wrote Yihielo el shani ketzotav vahu bar v'heishev afidato asher alav kema asehu minenu meyen zahav tehelet vergaman tolet Torah hashani v'sheish mush zar. They shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and of fine twisted linen, worked into designs. It shall have 2 shoulder pieces attached. They shall be attached at its 2 ends, and the decorated band that is upon it shall be made like it, of 1 piece with it, of gold, of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and of fine twisted linen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. And we take a moment now actually to pause. This is such a holy and amazing thing that we're doing. And our tradition says use this holiness for good and for others. And so we use this moment to say the prayer for healing, our Misha Berach prayer. And so this song, this prayer comes with 2 different verses, and in between those verses I'll read a list of names from our congregation that we know of that are in need of healing, and I'll ask you to add in any other names that you would like to. You can put them in the Facebook chat, you can say them out loud, you can say them in your heart, so that we can all hold those people with you as we pray for healing.
Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say
Today we are praying for Zachary Hoffman, David Karner, David Lustig, Jeff Cohn, David Goldenberg, Stuart Myers, Catherine Plus, Jean Silber, Scott Englander, Stacy Hoffman, Kristen Myers, Corey Franklin, Sandy Shore, Julie Gordon Yanez, Brian John Miller, Jerry Wacknov, Shanti Hazan, Jennifer Brynan, Lynn Pollitt, Lynn McLaughlin Cromar, Howard Rosenberg, Leonard Streer, Deborah Alenikoff, Bobby Fuhrer, Alex Busnovetsky, Michael Altenberg, Isabel Make, Sharon Crane, and Gary Sindler. I ask you now, if you would like to put any names out there into the world that we haven't said, type them in, say them out loud, hold them in your hearts as we pray together for healing. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekor HaRefuah. Blessed are you, Adonai, the source of all healing.
Sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say
And so with all of those people in our hearts and in our minds, we return to our Torah reading for our 4th and final Aliyah. And this is a special one. because there's everybody. Hello, team. Because this aliyah is the one that actually marks the moment that we in Jewish tradition consider Mitchell to be bar mitzvah. It's not when he leads us in prayer. It's not when he put on his talit, his prayer shawl this morning. It is not when he read from the Torah for the first time. It is when he says the blessing over his own Torah reading that we mark that transition. And so it is my great honor and privilege this morning to call to the Torah for the very first time as a bar mitzvah, Mitchell Gabriel Sindler.
Yamod Meitav Gavriel Ben Yosef Ben Yamin Vesimcha Elisheva Habar Mitzvah
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'na'ata lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai notei ha'Torah.
Amen.
Vela hachata et shtei avnei shoham ufuratam aleichem shemot bnei Yisrael shisha mishmotam al hahevet hachat ve'et shemot hashisha hanatarim al hemen hashenit kedodotam masei harash Evan Pirtei Chotam Tafatat et Shtei Havanim Al Shemot Bnei Yisrael Musabot Mitzabot Zahav Taseotam Vesamtam et Shtei Havanim Al Kifod Avod Avnei Zikaron Livnei Yisrael Venasam Aaron et Shmotam Lifnei Adonai Al Shtei Akudafod Lizikaron. Then take 2 lazuli stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on the one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 on the other stone, in order of their birth. On the 2 stones you shall make seal engravings, the work of a lapidary, of the names of the sons of Israel, having bordered them with frames of gold. Attach the 2 stones to the shoulder pieces of the ephod, as stones for remembrance of the Israelites people, whose names Aaron shall carry upon his 2 shoulder pieces, for remembrance before the Eternal. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nata lanu toret emet, v'chayei olam nata berotenu. Baruch atah Adonai, notei ha'Torah.
Amen. Siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'siman tov. Yehei lanu, yehei lanu, yehei lanu, u'lechol Yisrael. Yehei lanu, yehei lanu, u'lechol Yisrael. Yehei lanu, yehei lanu, u'lechol Yisrael. Yehei lanu, yehei lanu, u'lechol Yisrael.
Mazel tov. That was amazing. Mitchell, we're so proud of you. And we are going to take a second now, first of all, to give you a chance to stretch it out. Hug that fam if you haven't done it yet. We transition now to the Haftorah, which is the part of the service that comes right after the Torah reading. It sounds like I'm saying half Torah, but I'm not. The Haftorah is actually, it means parting or taking leave, and it is a section of the text that we read on Shabbat morning that comes from the book of the prophets. And sometimes it corresponds pretty directly with what we read about in the Torah. Sometimes it's not super easy. It's not a super easy connection to make. But what's really neat about the Haftorah is that it sounds different. It is in a different tune, and it is a whole new set of blessings that Mitchell had to read. And it's a new part of our tradition that we share. And we don't really know why we have the tradition of the Haftorah. Our scholars have big debates about that. Some say that it came from times in our history when we weren't allowed to read publicly from a Torah. That Torah scroll that we looked at, it's pretty conspicuous, hard to hide. A Haftorah can be read out of a book, and so it's a little bit easier to think about what that might have been in times when the history wasn't so hard, wasn't so easy. And so as we call Mitchell today back to the screen to introduce his Haftorah, we think about how lucky we are and how blessed we are to be able to practice our religion freely today. And so with that, I am turning it over to Mitchell to tell us about what his Haftorah reading will be today.
The Haftorah for this Shabbat is from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 43, verse 22 through 27. In this Haftorah, the prophet describes the building of a future sanctuary for God, just as the Torah portion detailed the building of the portable sanctuary that the Israelites used in the desert. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'vim tovim v'radzah b'didirehem hana'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah u'Moshe adov u'Yisrael amo u'vi'i ha'emet v'tzedek u'vayom hashmeni takriv Se'ir izim tamim lechatat v'chatuv et ha'izbeach kaser hitu ba'par v'halocha mechadesh takriv par ben barkar tamim v'hayo mihatzot tamim v'digratam Lifnei Adonai, v'hi aru hakohanim alehem melach v'ha'alom otam ola l'Adonai shivat yamim ta'aser sehir chatat layom ufar ben bakar v'hayom mihatzot temimim Ya'asu Shivat Yamim Yahapru et Aizbeach Vehi Haru Oto Lelu Ladav Vechalu et Hayamim Vaya Vayom Hashmenim Vahala Ya'asu HaKohanim Ahamizbeach et Olotechem ve'et Shomtechem ve'etzitin Elohim Nayom Adonai Elohim. On the next day you shall offer a goat without blemish as a purgation offering, purifying the altar from sin as you purified it with the bull. When you are done with the purification, offer a young bull of the herd and a ram from the flock, both without blemish. Offer them to the Eternal. Let the priest throw salt on them and sacrifice them as a whole burnt offering to the Eternal. Every day for 7 days you shall purge a goat as a purgation offering, as well as a young bull of a herd and a ram from the flock. All of them must be without blemish. For 7 days you are to purge the altar and purify it. then consecrate it. When those days are past, from the 8th day onward, the priest shall present you burnt offerings and your offering of well-being on the altar, and I will show you favor, says the eternal God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Zukor ha'amim Zadik b'chol hadarot Ha'el haneman Hamoher v'osher Haboher ukayim Shekol devar emet Vad zedek Ala Torah V'avodah V'havayim V'al yom HaShabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'linuha Lehavot ulitfaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach Ubarahim ota Yitbarak shimcha B'chichol hai Tamid leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Yasher Koach, Mitchell. You're doing such a fabulous job. And I'm going to give you another second to take a drink of water, stretch out your face, shake it out for just a minute. As we transition now from the Haftorah reading and the Torah reading, right? We're going to move now into this other part of our service this morning. And what we're going to move into is your Devar Torah. And this is the part that isn't just you reciting from our tradition or chanting what you have learned over these many, many months of study. This is the part where you share with us your own thoughts, your own teachings, what's in your heart and mind. And you have worked incredibly hard on giving us something to think about today. A Devar Torah means some words of Torah. And our B'nai Mitzvah students spend a little bit of time learning not the Hebrew of their Torah portions, but the English, right? So that they can understand and internalize and then turn around and teach us something from what they've learned. And so, Mitchell, I'm turning it back over to you so that you can teach us today your words of Torah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
In my Torah Parashat T'tzaveh, in the book of Exodus, there are two different stories. One is about the fashion of the priest, and the other is a very detailed explanation on how to sacrifice an animal. For my Devar Torah, I decided to choose the fashion of the priest. A few months after the Israelites have escaped from slavery in Egypt, they are near the foot of Mount Sinai, outside the land of Israel. God and the people had just recently joined a covenant for God to protect the people if they follow God's laws. This is a pretty good deal, so of course the people took it. God had instructed Moses to build a sanctuary, also known as a mikdash or the tabernacle, so God could dwell among the people. In T'tzaveh, God describes to Moses how to decorate the sanctuary with the eternal light, the Ner Tamid, what the priest should wear, and how to make sacrifices. I chose the portion about the clothing of the priest not just because I did not want to talk about sacrifices, but also because I was very curious about this topic. I like to ask a lot of questions, but this thing really had me asking a bunch of questions. Like, what is the reason to wear such vibrant colors like gold, purple, and blue? Or why do they need to have bells on them like a cat? And why, even in the first place, do they need to wear all this fancy stuff? In T'tzaveh, it states these are the vestments they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a fringed tunic, a headdress, and a sash. They therefore shall receive the gold, the blue, the purple, and crimson yarns, and the fine linen. Then take 2 lazuli stones and engrave on them the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, 6 of them on the one stone, and the remaining 6 on the other stone. I think the Torah is trying to tell us that the clothes show who you are and help you both mentally and physically. For example, if you were one of the people camped out near Mount Sinai and you saw Aaron walking by wearing an ephod, a French tunic, purple crimson yards, and all this other crazy stuff, you would probably think, hey, that guy's wearing all the stuff that only the priests wear. And as we all know, the priests are very important people, so he must be a priest, and therefore he is a very important person. The wording will probably be a lot different because this was before dictionaries were invented, but you get the point. Different clothes show people who you are and what you do. Now, let's get to the point of view of Aaron. He's walking around in all these clothes, and people are admiring him and showing him respect. I think the reason why God ordered Moses to make the priests wear all this stuff was to tell others who they are, but to mainly tell themselves who they are. When Aaron is wearing all his priestly clothes, he knows that the only other people wearing these clothes are the priest, and reminds him that he is one of the priests and he has all these important jobs to do. In some ways, the clothes make him a better priest, and thousands of years later, this idea of clothes helping us perform better as humans is still happening. Let's take a second to think about why we might wear different clothes for different things, like going to work, or when at a fancy restaurant, or when we're at a sports game. And even right now on the Zoom call, we wear these different clothes to show respect to others, but to also show respect to ourselves. If we are at a nice restaurant, we wear nice clothes to show the people in the restaurant that we respect the restaurant, and it reminds us to be respectful. Or when we're at a Nuggets game, we might wear a Nuggets jersey to show everyone and ourselves that we are huge Nuggets fans. And whenever they score, we're going to scream as loud as we can. And if they lose, we're going to yell at that one player on Twitter for the rest of the week. At least that's what my dad does. We may wear different stuff for different events. Like right now, I'm wearing a yarmulke, a talit, a fancy suit, and nice shoes. And the reason why I'm wearing this stuff is because, 1, it helps everyone watching know that today is special or a unique day for me. And more importantly, it tells me that today is special. It tells me that today I'm finally going to show off all the work I've been doing for the past year in front of all my family and friends. This is even more important in the time of Zoom, in my opinion. If I was wearing pajama pants instead of nice pants right now, none will see it because we're on Zoom, and everyone will still think that I'm wearing the best clothes I can wear for this momentous day of my life. And even though everyone who is watching would think that, I myself will know that is not true, and will bring down my commitment and excitement for this day. That is why I decided to put in the extra time to wear nice pants. This is the value the Torah is trying to teach us in this parsha. When Aaron is wearing his priestly clothes for his priestly doings, mainly just sacrificing animals, he is showing respect to his duties. He is showing respect to Moses and his people. He is showing respect to all his sons. He is also showing respect to himself and the role he plays. He respects himself as the brother of Moses. Aaron is teaching us about respect and the clothes he wears. I wear pajama pants when I'm going to sleep. I wear very nice pants when a once-in-a-lifetime event is happening. You don't switch those two things around. I've been talking a lot about how clothes show respect to ourselves, which is the main part of my speech. But I also want to touch on wearing clothes to show respect to others. So, not going to brag or anything, but this day is mainly about me and becoming a man. So, when you wear that nice button-down shirt, dress, or other nice clothes, it tells me that you are respecting me and my family. If you haven't noticed already, I've been saying the word respect a lot, and wouldn't you know it, that's one of the many Jewish values we have. Kavod, which means show respect. I think that right now, I'm showing respect to my friends and family with the clothes I am wearing. I'm showing respect to my Jewish heritage. I'm showing respect to myself and this day. Clothes are just one of the many ways we show respect to ourselves and others. We wouldn't wear gym clothes at a big job interview, or we wouldn't wear pajamas at a bar about mitzvah. Nobody wants to embarrass themselves and show disrespects to others. Now, granted, since this bar mitzvah is on Zoom, a lot of people might be wearing pajama pants, and I'm okay with that. I might have also done that a few times during the past month. But If we were to have the celebration in the synagogue, we would all wear something at least a bit nice just to show respect to everyone. But since we are not at the synagogue, we don't even take a second to think about something nice we should wear, and that is what I want to try to fix. When on a Zoom or a Google Meet for school or work or anything else, try to wear what you will normally wear. And even if we can't be there in person, we could try to help ourselves be there mentally. When I'm on a Zoom call for school, I can definitely see a difference when I'm wearing the stuff I usually wear and when I'm lazy and decide not to change into different clothes at all. When I don't change into my normal clothes, I get almost no work done at all that day. But when I wear what I would usually wear at school, I'm just as successful as I am on any normal day. So I can definitely tell that there's a difference when I wear my normal clothes and not. So next time you're going on a Zoom call, take a few seconds to think about what I would normally wear at this event and change into what will make you more productive. Next time my dad tells me not to be in my pajamas on my call, I will listen to him. Now, clothes is one of the ways respecting people, but another way is by thanking them. And there are some people I would like to thank. First, Mom and Dad. Mom, you do so much for the family, from going to work to put food on the table and still have time to food prep, to clean the house, to tell us to clean the house too, taking us on amazing vacations that I hope we can go on again soon, and so much more. You do so much for everyone in this house, and you are such an amazing person in general. I know it sounds generic, but you really are the best mom I could ever have, and I can't stress this enough. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do for me and the family. Dad, you do so much for me. I can't thank you enough. You drive me to school almost every day. You make dinner for us. You go to all my sports games whenever you can. We always play tennis and go skiing together. We watch all the Star Wars shows together. We geek out on anything Disney or theme park related. You help me out with school and you help me out with friends. All above else, you're just a really great dad in general. I know it might not seem that way when we're all making fun of you, but just remember that we still love you. You really are such a great dad. You two are such amazing parents, and I couldn't ask more from you two. You really are the best parents I could ever have. Next, I want to thank other family members that have helped me along the way. Bubby, Grancy, Grandma, Tanta, you all do so much for me and the family. You all helped us get through last year. You always made us laugh and smile. You are such great family members, and I love you all so much. Thank you for being a part of my family. Ben, thank you for introducing me to some of my all-time favorite video games and for picking me up from school. I love playing games together all the time, and even though you beat me at every single game in existence, I still really enjoy your presence. Ellie, thank you for introducing me to so many movies and other pop culture things into my life. Even though you are off in the mountains now, you still do so much to influence me and my life and help me out whenever I needed it. You were the one that got me excited about Logan, AS, school sports, and movies. I thank you both for tolerating me, for always supporting me. It's good to know that I'll always have someone to talk to whenever I need it. Next, I want to thank Rabbi Hyatt and Steve Brodsky. Thank you two for dedicating so much time into helping me make this day as special as you can. You two helped me learn my Hebrew, how to write the speech, and what it means to be Jewish. In these rough times where a lot of other B'nai Mitzvah students aren't having the bar bat mitzvahs we originally planned, but you and so many others still tried the best you could to make this day as special as you could make it, and for that, I say thank you. I also want to thank all the teachers in my life for helping me get through this point. Either it is helping me read or write, helping me with my social life, and making me the person I am today. I want to mainly thank my Hebrew tutor, Stu, for helping me learn all my prayers and all my Torah and Haftorah. I want to thank you all for helping me with my Torah and just life in general. Lastly, I want to thank everyone who's watching my bar mitzvah. Thank you all so much for taking a couple of hours out of your sad day to watch this momentous day for me. Either if your family, friends, B'nai Mitzvah students, or even just some random person scrolling down on Facebook and seeing this live stream. You all made this day so much more special than you could imagine, and for that, I say thank you. I will now conclude with a prayer of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, shehakiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu, lazman hazeh. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this season. Amen.
Amen. Mitchell, wow. Take a deep breath. That was amazing. This is a momentous day for you and for your family and for all of us who have had the privilege of knowing you and the honor of working with you for these many months to get you prepared for today. And yeah, you are correct that today is really all about you and becoming a man. But don't forget, on Monday it's back to 7th grade. Okay. You know, in 1975, a book came out that was called Dress for Success. And it was a huge bestseller. And everybody hailed this book as having this amazing wisdom about how, you dress for the job that you think you want, and that the way you are dressed determines how successful you will be. And like so many other things in life, the Torah was way ahead of this 1975 book. And thousands of years ago, the Torah knew all about dressing for success. And that's what your Torah portion is about. And that's what you taught us about, how, the clothes that we wear show us who we are, show other people who we are and what we do and how we move through life. And that's really an amazing thing. And I don't know, you can see this right now. No one else can, but you can see on the screen in Rabbi Hyatt's profile picture on the Zoom screen. If you look behind her at the Torah covers in our sanctuary, what colors do you see there? Unmute yourself for a second and just tell me what colors you see in those Torah covers.
Purple, blue, and most likely crimson yarns.
Yes. Exactly. And if you were to look very closely, you'd also find threads of silver woven through those Torah covers. And you also see that each of those Torahs has a breastplate. And if you look closely at those breastplates, you would see that the names of the 12 tribes of Israel are inscribed on those breastplates, 6 on one side and 6 on the other. The things that we read about in your Torah portion are things that we still do today, right? We don't have priests anymore. We don't make sacrifices anymore, so we don't have a need for priests. But we dress the Torah scrolls much like the priests used to dress. And, several times in your Torah portion, you read about blue and purple and crimson yarns and threads of silver and gold. And we still do those things today in many, many places. So I think that's just a really cool connection. You did such an amazing job of taking this ancient wisdom, these words that were written thousands of years ago, and making it relevant for us today. And that's really what becoming a bar mitzvah is all about, is learning about your past, learning about your history, learning about the traditions and the customs that came before us, and figuring out how to make those things meaningful and relevant in your life today as a young man living in the year 2021. And really what it all boils down to is this word kadosh, holiness, that we use a lot. The priests were holy. The priests were doing the service of God, and they were doing holy work, and they had to dress in a holy fashion. No pun intended. They had to dress in a holy way. And the word holy is kind of hard to describe, but it really means unique or different or separate, right? It's like what you talked about. You could wear your pajama pants, and I'm not going to tell you if I'm wearing pajama pants right now or not, but you could wear your pajama pants to your bar mitzvah. But that would not make it special, right? And we want to set things apart. We want to raise things up, elevate things so that they're more powerful, more meaningful. They have a bigger impact on us. And that's really an amazing way of showing kavod, the honor and respect that you talked about. You have worked really, really, really hard, Mitchell. I know this wasn't always an easy process for you, but I have to tell you that you read and chanted so beautifully. You taught us so beautifully. Your exuberance and your enthusiasm is really just amazing and so incredible. And whenever I think of you with a big smile on your face, because you almost always have a big smile on your face. And you know, ever since I've known you, since you were just a little guy, you've had a big smile on your face. You've always had this wonderful joy and exuberance for life that is really, really amazing. So I hope you'll hang on to that, right? The world is tough. You made reference to the fact that this isn't the bar mitzvah that any of us had envisioned, but you really, really stepped up. You've done an incredible job, and we're all so, so proud of all the work that you've done and everything you've accomplished today. So mazel tov. We have a bunch of gifts to give you on behalf of the congregation, which we can't do right now, but we will very, very soon. First of all, we will have a beautiful bar mitzvah certificate for you. I think Sean's going to put that up on the screen for a minute. And this will be filled out with your name and all the information about today, and all of the clergy will sign it. And over on the left side in Hebrew, it says La'asok b'divrei Torah. And then this is the blessing that we say before we study words of Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who commands us to engage with words of Torah. And you have set such a great example for us today, Mitchell, in how to really deeply engage with words of Torah, to dig deep into those words, to find meaning and relevance, and then be able to teach those words to others. So thank you for that. We will also have for you a bunch of other gifts. We will have another certificate for a tree that we have planted in Israel in your honor. And we will also have a certificate for a financial gift that will help you on going on a teen trip to Israel, whether it's the Israel Study Tour or some other teen trip. And that's sort of like a savings bond. It accrues in value, and it matures upon completion of our confirmation program. So I hope that you will continue on with your Jewish education. Rabbi Hyatt and I both look forward to many more opportunities to learn with you and from you as you continue on your Jewish journey. And when you go to Israel, you can go and visit the tree that we've planted. It shouldn't be too hard to find. We also will have for you a wonderful book called Text Messages, not this kind of text message like the two thumbs kind, but Torah text messages. It's a Torah commentary for young people that's really an amazing, wonderful book, and we hope that you'll spend some time engaging with those words of Torah. We will also have for you a backpack kind of swag bag from Friedman Club Temple Youth Group. Hope that you know that you always have a place at Temple Emanuel and in our youth programming. And last but not least, we will have a beautiful Kiddush cup for you from our Temple Sisterhood. The beginning of a collection of ritual objects. You have a tallis now, and now you'll have a Kiddush cup as well to celebrate many, many happy events through your life. And also a mezuzah to put on the doorpost, for now, the doorpost of your bedroom. Someday, perhaps a college dorm room or your first apartment, your first home. You can always take that with you and know that words of Torah are always right there on the doorpost of your house. And every time you come and go out into the world, words of Torah will be your guide. So, Mitchell, thank you so much for teaching us, for leading us with such joy and exuberance. Mazel tov. We're really, really proud of you. I want to invite your mom and dad, Jason and Cindy, to come into the frame now and to offer you their blessing. You get a quick blessing from your siblings, right? Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Ellie and Ben are going to take a moment first. So come on in and sit down.
We'll sit down. Yeah, they also have trees in Israel right now.
They do.
Hi. Mitchell, You made me and Ellie look really bad with this bar mitzvah thing. I'll forgive you, though, because you're a sweet baby boy. I guess you're a sweet baby man now. You care for others and you do the most you can to protect the people close to you, except when it's family game night and you're out for revenge. You are hardworking and persevering, like when it's family game night and you're out for revenge against me. Mitchell and I play a game together called Animal Crossing, and it's where you personalize an island and make it your own. When we play together, though, we aren't productive, though. Instead, we chase each other around, around a museum, dressed up insane, and clap at seaweed. I love how we can be silly and dumb together. Love you, Mitch. Congrats. Maybe one day you'll beat me in Pan Am.
Mitchell. Yes. Back in my day, when I was your age, my favorite teacher, Shay, pointed out to me that she could tell how confident I was based on the clothes I was wearing. And I learned that the way you present yourself is tied to your self-respect. I don't need to tell you this. You clearly already knew. But I wanted to bring it up because I wanted to point out how much your self-confidence has grown. Despite me and Ben picking on you, you've come to realize that you're actually a lot cooler than us, but I'm so glad you've realized that. It's such a joy to recognize you watch how that you're smart and you're good at things, because you are, and you put hard work into the things you do, and you deserve to know that your work is paying off. I'm even more glad that you're learning that you've got a pretty awesome personality, because we already knew, and we've kind of been waiting for you to catch on. Great job today, and before we go, we just wanted to say, nice work, pal.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, here comes the splash zone.
All right. So we got a couple of thank yous first. First is we want to thank everyone who is here in our family, is in our pod, I guess, so to speak. But everyone has been extra safe, and in particular this week, and we're all tested. And
So
we're
we could
good
all
to
be
go.
together.
So we don't need to wear our Zoom
So
mitzvah
don't
masks.
worry about us all being super close together and hugging.
So, and then I also want to thank Steve, Rabbi Hyatt, Mitchell's Tutor Stu, Cantor Sachs, Sean in production, and everyone at Temple Emanuel who makes these Zoom mitzvahs happen. This is an amazing broadcast of actually being able to celebrate. And all of your work in this past year in transition to worship and our life cycle events in a way that we've been connected is really top-notch, first class. So thank you. I got to go first at Ellie and Ben services. So Mom's going to start here while I get my emotions together.
So you talked a lot today about respect, and you respected this process. You gave it so much effort and commitment, and it really, really showed today, and we're super, super proud of you. I wanted to talk about Would You Rather.
Oh.
In our house at dinner time, it has been a habit of Mitchell's to play the game Would You Rather. In this game, he poses thoughtful, sometimes impossible questions, and we all take a turn explaining our reasons for selecting one of the two options he provides. The questions are tough, and he's really good at it. These range from practical questions like, would you rather lose your keys or your cell phone? To the philosophical, would you rather lose your vision or your hearing? To the down what gruesome, would you rather lose both legs or your dominant arm? And no, the questions aren't all about loss. Those just happen to be a few I could remember. This has provided us with hours of entertainment and has kept the conversation and laughter flowing. It's given us valuable insight to better understand our kids and each other in surprising ways. Like most people, our families always enjoyed having options. We took for granted that we always had liberties and all sorts of choices when it came to things like, where could we go eat out tonight? Or let's plan a vacation, or how should we celebrate this big upcoming event? And then the pandemic happened, and our choices got a lot more limited. Mitchell is very imaginative and extremely passionate about travel and geography. Nothing excites this kid more than planning an airplane flight. Not the rest of the trip, just the flight. So a few years ago, after Ben's bar mitzvah, we started thinking about our options for how to celebrate your simcha. We decided we were going to join other Temple Emanuel families and trek to Israel for the B'nai Mitzvah in May of 2021. Needless to say, about a year ago, that plan got scrapped altogether. Naturally, I was really worried about how you would respond. There wasn't an option to reschedule. There would be no exciting international travel, no elaborate crowded party to plan, no one flying in from out of town, no on-site ceremony at the temple, or even an actual Torah scroll to read from today. After having witnessed Ellie and Ben's experiences, I was really concerned you would be tempted to just check out of this process. But much to my delight, not only did you dutifully get to work on your bar mitzvah prep studies right away, you flourished during this process. Your dedication that you've shown to your studies is really, really remarkable. You practiced your Hebrew daily with no prompts from us. And in your free time, we find you engrossed in independent research on all sorts of topics. And you do that just for fun. Just last week, you were studying different alphabets and characters from various languages to create your own complex alphabet. This year has been a challenge, and you've tackled it with perseverance and determination. At one point, when you first started working on your Parsha, you got a little rattled. You'd never been asked to make an essay quite like that before. And needless to say, a day or two later, you had a solid first draft. In the end, you really enjoyed the process, and you felt pretty proud about your accomplishment. You probably know that the word doctor means teacher, so part of my job is working with students. Hands down, Mitchell, you are the best kind of student. You're self-motivated, creative, endlessly curious. Several of your teachers are watching right now, and I know that they're all nodding their heads in agreement. Traditionally, we parents use this precious time allotted during your big day to bestow you with all sorts of words of parental wisdom. And I'm not going to do that because you're going to get that in just a second. Instead, it is with great pride today you become the teacher and we become the students. During the pandemic, I have watched you handle all sorts of unexpected challenges and stressors with surprising maturity, grace, and your signature quirky and refreshing humor. You've taught me to be more flexible in the face of suddenly limited options. I couldn't be more proud of you. And while you and I both long for a day that we can get on a plane again and explore the world outside of these four walls, in the end, I'm eternally grateful to have gotten more time with you at home this year. Normally, our weekends would be full of driving to and fro for various sports and activities, but this year I got to watch your incredible transformation. On first glance, this pandemic has been an annoying plague. It's restricted our freedoms, it's created monotony. But if you take a second look, there are silver linings. And having more time together as a family and watching you become this incredible, caring young man, those are my silver linings. So now, would you have rather had that predictable experience you envisioned years ago today, or have this incredible and intimate experience that you created today? There's no right answer, but let's discuss your thoughts over bagels and lox. Would you rather sesame or everything?
Everything.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. I've got this down to under 5 minutes.
Splash zone.
Okay.
It might have originally been 7. I will need this. But I'm going to do my best. So, Mitchell. Mazel tov. Not surprisingly, I'm tearing up while writing this and right again. So, and that's because I have nachas. That's the word Hamilton was really looking for when he was writing to his son and telling him that he had so much more than pride. You have worked so hard and diligently these past several months preparing for today. The qualities you have shown, dedication, perseverance, the desire to improve, and the ability to improvise will serve you well in life. So I get to say a few words now, which, as you know, means I will say more than just a few words. I've been working from home pretty much since you've been born, which means I've had the joy of spending lots of time with you, and you've had the gift of my daily words of wisdoms and pontifications. You're welcome. I've been writing this speech in my head for months, but I'll do my best to be concise. I'm coming up with ideas even today. But in the words of your younger self, besides, would you rather? Let me tell you something. Yes, you're my favorite child. Okay, that's not true. You kids are more like cookies, coffee, and ice cream to me. I love all three equally, and I couldn't pick just one. In fact, a great day normally involves all three, both 3 kids and the 3 foods. But today, Mitchell, you are chocolate chip cookie coffee ice cream. Mom and I are thankful that all you 3 kids get along and enjoy being together. I mean, what if my favorite things were onions, cereal, and orange juice? I hope you continue to be close to your brother and sister. Remember, cookies, coffee, and ice cream are always better together. And at different times, you are all my favorites for different reasons. But I am very lucky that you actually seem to enjoy skiing and playing tennis with me. Over the last year, we've gotten to do a lot of that together. And we get to talk about anything, from Marvel movies to how you're feeling. Lucky for me, these are lifetime sports. And I only hope that we have many more years of skiing trees and bumps, and you soon beating me regularly in tennis. The reason I look forward to our time together is I think you're an amazing kid. You have a kind and caring spirit and really want to do the right thing. We talk about being a mensch in this house, a good person, a person of integrity and honor. And you're the epitome of this. You have care and concern for others, you are kind, and as you taught us today, you care about being respectful. My greatest wish is for you to believe in yourself. Just over a week ago, we were skiing, and we finally went over to Spalding Bowl, a steep black diamond run at Copper that stares menacingly at us as we go up our favorite lift, Resolution. We finally went down it, and what did you learn?
It was easy.
It was so much easier than you had imagined. Our minds tend to make obstacles bigger than they are. Try to remember this whenever you face a new challenge. Now, to share, there are many things that define you. You have your activities like soccer, tennis, skiing, and working out. You've also enjoyed acting and are quite good at it. But I love your interests. Sure, you play video games, but more often than not, if you're on your iPad, you're watching a video about airline operations, geography, science, travel, roller coasters, anything Disney related, or the MCU. That's the Marvel movies. You dig deep into those worlds, and that shapes who you are and gives us a way to tell us something interesting. And with that, I thought I'd wrap up with some words of wisdom from something we love, the MCU. So in Ragnarok, Thor said, I make grave mistakes all the time. Everything seems to work out. Make mistakes. Sometimes they make good stories. Most of the time you'll learn something. It means you tried something new. Just as importantly though, don't beat yourself up when you mess up. Just learn from your mistakes. Just try to make them only once. And if you keep making them, that's okay too. Thor also said, I choose to run towards my problems and not run away from them because that's what heroes do. Remember how you felt when we skied the steeps? Embrace those challenges. In the Black Panther, King T'Challa says, in times of crisis, the wise build bridges while the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe. You, Mitchell, truly care about our family, the world, and the environment. You started Meatless Mondays in our house to do this part. You're a uniter. Keep building bridges. All right, this one always gets me. Whatever happens tomorrow, you must promise me one thing, that you will stay who you are. Not a perfect soldier, but a good man. You remember who said that? What movie that was? Nope, that was
Captain America.
That was in Captain. That was said to Steve Rogers, who was chosen by to be Captain America because Dr. Erskine saw he was a mensch. Enough said. And lastly, in Endgame, Frigga tells Thor, everyone fails at who they are supposed to be, Thor. The measure of a person, of a hero, is how well they succeed. Every time. Is how well they succeed at being who they are. So let me tell you something. I love who you are.
There we go.
We got the Bubby.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for all of your beautiful words, to your whole family for their beautiful words. I have the opportunity, Mitchell, just to give you one last little blessing, and I'm going to be really brief, but the thing that you didn't talk about in your Torah portion, I remember we sort of said there were 2 options. You could talk about what the priests were, or you could talk about the Ner Tamid, the eternal flame, right? The eternal flame is real. We all have a light burning in our sanctuaries. It has to get changed. It's not like a magical light. There's a candle in it or a light bulb, but it's an eternal light, and it's really important to us that it always be on. It's also a metaphor, right? For the generations after generations that receive this tradition and pass it on. For me, this experience has been a practice in seeing the eternal light. Not because of your hard work. You did work really hard, and lots of kids work really hard. but because of the enthusiasm and the love with which you approached this process and the learning and the studying and the effort and the trying, that for me is like the best confidence I could have that there is a generation after this one, right? That your generation will love and treasure and pass Judaism down the way that we hope and pray and work for that to happen. That's why we've been here doing this for 4,000 years, is because you approached this. You took this on with the deepest love. And that is why we have an eternal light, a ner tamid, in our sanctuaries and in our hearts and in our tradition and in our families. And so thank you for sharing your enthusiasm and your light and the fuel that you have with us. It has been such a privilege and a pleasure to learn with you, Mitchell. I'm so proud of you. And with that, I'm going to call Steve back to the screen so that we can give you our final blessing, and that is the priestly benediction, the blessing that we give to all of our kids whenever we can. Let's do it.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Mitchell, may God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
And may the light of God shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And Mitchell, may you have the privilege of seeing God's face. Not something that we often get to do, but I think that you see God's face in the faces of those that love you. Your mom and dad, your brother and sister, your grandparents, your family, us. We hope that that is what it feels like to have God looking at you, and that brings you the gift of wholeness, the gift of love, and the gift of peace.
V'yasem lecha shalom. V'yasem lecha shalom.
And so with that, we're going to give the Sindlers a moment to blow their nose and get themselves ready. We're actually going to move right into our moment of memory, the Mourner's Kaddish. And on behalf of the Sindler family, we are remembering Robert Glickman and Charles Long, and we're holding them with us. We talk about that chain of generations, and we know that we didn't get here on our own. And so those that can't be with us, we bring into this space at this moment. And so I invite all of you to participate with me in this moment of memory in the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish. Before we begin, I ask you to rise spiritually or physically if you are able. If you're in a period of mourning, even though we can't see you, we are sending you love and standing with you. And now we all rise physically or spiritually and join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkarash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulealmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us say amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Well, let's bring everyone back at this point. We're going to sing our closing song. And one more time, have a chance to wish Mitchell and the whole family a huge mazel tov. Here we go. Hava, hava nashira, shir hallelujah, shir hallelujah. Hava, hava nashira, shir hallelujah, shir hallelujah. Hava, hava nashira, shir hallelujah. Hava, hava nashira, shir hallelujah.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha. We offer one final prayer before you, God, and we ask that the joy and the happiness and the beauty of this moment carry us through the rest of this Shabbat, that we continue to remember the incredible holiness of this moment, all of the lessons that Mitchell taught us, that we dress for the people, for the part, for the moment that we want to create, both in what we wear and in how we behave and how we treat other people. We are so grateful for your wisdom and your enthusiasm, Mitchell. To the whole Sindler family, thank you so much for all of your enthusiasm and work and commitment. Thank you all for joining us. We wish you a giant mazel tov, Shabbat shalom, and we'll see you soon.